G'day and welcome back to the SCP Show for round 8 of the SuperCoach season. We're down here at Bar 94 thanks to our fantastic partners, and of course I'm joined by these two clowns, Damon and Mick. Mick, yourself firstly, welcome back. How was your school this week?
Thanks for welcoming me back. I didn't do too well this week. I got 2,120, which was only surpassed by Matt, who got less than 2,000. Pretty pitiful.
He's not showing his face, is he?
Chocolate hat.
Yeah, he's the chocolate hat again. He's had it, what, 4 times now. So, but yeah, again, he's not here on the show. So I think he's just completely pulled out.
Yep.
He's just too embarrassed.
I think so. And Damon, pretty good week from you.
Yeah, not too bad. Not quite as good as you, Paige.
Wow.
I scored 2,253. Mitchell hurt me, as he would have a lot of coaches out there. But yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Well, I'm vindicated because I actually traded Sam Mitchell ahead of round 3.
Ah, yes.
And I have not had to put up with any of this nonsense. And I feel pretty good about myself because I scored 2,384 and got everything right this week for me, just about. So, travelling nicely down at Rampage HQ this week. There's some big trades to come with a huge week in store with the very first round of the buys, which basically now leads us into our very first segment, and you know, it's a bit of Backstreet Boys inspired, isn't it?
Ba, ba, ba.
I won't do it.
No.
Yeah, we didn't.
We were doing a pre-show, but I think it was just a lot better then.
Yeah.
Anyway, the teams that you will not be featuring or seeing this week, rather, Adelaide, Geelong, Richmond, Gold Coast, Collingwood and North Melbourne. It means guys like Gary Ablett, Patrick Dangerfield, Scott Pendlebury, Dane Beams, Dane Swan, I mean even Trent Cotchin, Dustin Martin, Todd Goldstein, Brent Harvey. God, that's pretty much everyone's side, isn't it?
My entire side.
That is, they are some huge outs, and obviously this week is going to be a big week of planning. If you haven't already started, you need to do so, and of course having a look at the trades. And you know, I think there are a few strategies when approaching this week in particular. And one thing you're going to talk about for us to start with, Nick.
We thought we'd use a hypothetical. Now, let's say your team page is predicted by the SuperCoach Gold Analyzer to get 1,500, maybe 1,600 per week for the first 2 weeks of the buy rounds, and then in the third week plummet to about 1,200, maybe 1,300. The first thing, obviously, with Mitchell and Jench going down, you've got to look at is how many players you're fielding this week in certain positions. Mitchell going down is a real kick in the pants. Jench going down isn't too bad because obviously he wasn't going to be playing this week anyway. But you're going to have to not panic if you've got maybe, say, 2 players in the back line or 2 players in the forward line only playing, and then you've got maybe 6 or 7 in the midfield. A lot of people will panic and burn some trades just trying to get people in, and that's probably the worst thing you can do because realistically, they're going to play the following weeks.
Exactly.
Apart from Mitchell, obviously, and Jench.
It's all about those panic the panic trades. You've got to stay away from them this week. But
yeah.
The other thing you've really got to look at is what you want to do post-buy. And I mean, looking at this, at players that are going to be coming down in price, especially the guys that are featuring this week in round 8 that aren't in. Your Selwoods, for example, your Dane Swans, they're going to be very, very cheap at the other side of the buy. And of course, when you've got guys like, obviously, Jared Polak, if you do wish to trade him up, which we'd probably advise not at the moment after that big score. But even then, Dunstons, your Alice's, those types of players are now segues into trading up to those types of players. And a lot of people will be trading this week to get some cash in the bank, which is probably the best way of trading this week. Is don't trade your way out of a bad situation. Just cop it. You've put yourself in this position already. You have to handle it. Unfortunately, if you're gonna do any trades, as I said, you have to trade down. But you know, at the moment, if you traded two trades each week since the very start, you'd already have 14 trades left. Now, if you've been going a bit crazy on trades, you'd need to be erring on the side of caution this week. But most people should have, and I mean they really should have, between 20 and 18 trades coming into this first week of the buy round.
Well, that's not good for me.
Nor me. I've only got 17.
Well,
no, look, and I think
we give or take a little bit, but ideally you'd want 18 to 20 trades left.
Yeah, I think so, and it doesn't help. I'm certainly in the boat. A lot of people will probably laugh at me, but for having 17 trades, that is. But for the players who have been injured, I've had a lot of those players. Mumford, I know you've still got Mumford yourself, so you've saved the trade there. I've traded him out, so that's one less trade for me. So it comes down to the players you've got available and who's been out of your side.
But, I mean, what to do this week in terms of trading in, guys? What do you think, Damon?
Yeah, well, I think this week, especially on the back of Mitchell getting injured, of course, people are going to be looking at, potentially some bargains. Now, Burgoyne, he's the one I want to mention from the top. He's worth 490k, and off the top of my head, I think he's averaging 101 at the moment, which is right up there amongst the top 2 or 3 in defenders there, alongside, I think, Hibbard. You've also got below him Hodge at 485, Birchall even lower for 452, who is a consistent performer, has been over the journey. Not so much this year because of the limited pre-season, but he's another one to potentially look at. In terms of looking at points of difference, now we've got a big one that we mentioned last week, David Mundy. He's pretty good. He's sitting pretty at 513,000, and his last 3-round average is 113. Huge. So
pretty decent.
For a point of difference, you need someone scoring that the top echelon sort of score, and he's one to look at definitely. Nick Malcheski is one that I know Mick, aka Cameron Wood, has got on. And he's jumped on him, and he's 508k, and he's at a last 3-round average of 106. So he's another one to consider. Kellen Ward is at 509, another one for the mids.
Bargain.
He's a bargain, but yeah, I mean, those are the sort of players you've got to look at if you want the point of difference. And it's this time of year that you've got to jump on them. And if you are forced to trade, as we are with Mitchell, look at those point of difference.
We're going to be jumping into that anyway. Basically, right now in our very next segment, the big Q, Sam Mitchell. What in the world do you do with the problem with Sam Mitchell? Gone for 2 months, was subbed out on just, I think it was 18 odd points, or I think maybe I'm being a bit generous.
I think it was 9. 8 or 9, yeah.
Well, there you go. So, a shocking week for everyone who had him. Even worse still for anyone who did jump on him last week as a trade. Look, you have to trade him. The good news is that there are so many options, and there are some really good ones. And at the moment, before we jump into it, if you're really smart, and smart coaching and smart trading this week go hand in hand, the ideal thing you want to do here is really trade off Sam Mitchell for a fellow Hawthorn player. That way you're getting them playing this week, and you're still copying the same buy that you still would have with Sam Mitchell. So it doesn't throw your strategy and your trading patterns out this week. It's a really big thing to take note of. Instead of chasing the points, your safer and more consistent option is definitely going to be a Hawthorn player, and luckily we've got quite a few to choose from, thankfully. But to start off with, we're going to have a look, and you just mentioned just then, Damo, Shaun Burgoyne, $490,000. He's got an average of 105. He's got a break-even of 62, and his next 3 are Sydney. He's got the bye the week after, and then Port Adelaide in round 10. Of his 7 scores so far, 5 have been over 100, so that is fantastic scoring. And he's had just a low of 72, which came against the Cats. So really consistent scoring, if you can believe it. He's in his 30s, yet he's still having one of his best seasons on the park. He's a really good option. He's been one of the most popular ones this week, according to SuperCoach Gold as well. He's one that I've jumped on personally, but he kind of scares me. Looking at his history, he has never averaged this high in his career. So something to think about. Roll the dice.
But roll the dice. I think he's got the runs on the board this year. I'm not too sure why. I haven't been paying too much close attention to Hawthorn's game style. Don't think he's changed his role, but he's just getting more possessions and using it quite well. So I've got him.
We're moving away from Hawthorn for the moment.
Yeah,
Mick?
Look, I think obviously the main thing with Hawthorn is you can bank on those guys consistently performing. Another couple of guys who have been consistently performing, Michael Hibbert and Jared McVeigh. These 2 guys both have their bye round 10. Okay, so the
take us through Michael Hibbert then.
Yeah, Michael Hibbert. So he's arguably the informed defender in SuperCoach. Now, arguably, there's obviously a few others.
He's the second most priced defender in the competition at the moment. His score of 90 was his worst. So it's pretty good. Pretty good. And he's had last month scores of 103, 104, 112, 124. So he's got a relatively high ceiling. And if you're looking for that consistent performer, then he's a good option. And you've got to also consider, if you've got other Hawthorn players in your team, then losing Mitchell out for somebody else who's got the bye in round 10 is not going to be that big a thing. Very true.
Then you got Jared McVeigh is the next one. 551,500. He'll set you back. So he's pretty pricey, as is Hibbert. He's averaging 105 though. He's got a break even of 79, so he'll definitely get that and go up in price unless he gets injured, of course. He's got Hawthorn, Essendon and the bye again in round 10. Here's his next 3. He's pricey, but he's also the most consistent.
Yep.
I guess you could say. And the only downside to him, though, is that pretty much the entire competition has him.
Yep. Exactly
so 90% of people...
Point of difference.
Maybe not that much, but...
Just quickly mentioning those two players as well, they're actually more expensive than Sam Mitchell, whereas Shaun Burgoyne is averaging more, or equal with Jared McVeigh, with 105 average. So you're going to be saving at least 60 grand between comparing Burgoyne to McVeigh. So that's reason enough to get on him. Another player to look at is Kate Simpson. He's priced at 511,700. He's averaging 98, with his break-even being 96, which is manageable and quite gettable. His next three, he's got the Saints, then he's got the bye the week after, and then Adelaide. And his scoring has been on the increase, with an average of 105 in his last 5 games. So he's finding some decent form, and despite Carlton's up and down form, he's still going strong.
He is. And a couple of other guys to mention, Luke Hodge and Dane Rampy. If you haven't had those two cross your minds at the moment, keep them in them, because I think they're going to be some serious options. Good point of difference in this conversation anyway. Definitely. But moving on, and we did touch on earlier in the very first segment that the best thing you can do this week is actually downgrade. Get yourself some cash and set yourself up post-buy for when these premiums start coming down in price. And having a look first, I think Jonathan O'Rourke was someone that you were pretty keen to speak about. Yeah,
look, I am pretty keen to speak about him, although I'm not getting him in my side, I've got to say. 123,900, he's averaging 43 at the moment, so, nothing special, but you can't, I guess, expect too much. What we can expect, though, is for him to get a few big scores throughout the rest of the season, because let's remember he is a former number 2 draft pick, okay? And so everyone's giving him high raps. He's got a lot of potential to get that those scores that maybe we've seen with, say, a Josh Kelly, who's just come in, or even a Dunstan who's come in and all of a sudden got 150 odd 1 week, and but he'll be that inconsistent performer. You'd look to downgrade him, downgrade somebody for him.
The only issue is probably going to be the sub vest. He might start in it, or he might end in it, basically, and there might be a bit of question marks over his job security there.
GWS also have a history of resting a lot of their younger players as well, so keep that in mind.
And Christian Salem is the next one. Melbourne boy. We'll get to another Melbourne boy a bit later, who I love. 177,300. He's averaging 25, and he's got a break even of 55. His next three is Western Bulldogs. Is that Western Bulldogs?
Western Bulldogs.
Western Bulldogs with an E at the end. Richmond and the bye in round 10. He's seen the sub vest in both his matches that he's played thus far, but he's got an elite disposal efficiency. We have to remember that. Round about above high 60s, was it?
Higher than that. He's got high 70s actually.
High 70s, well, killed me. I had him at the start of the season, but obviously got rid of him, finding out he wouldn't play for the first half. So get on him, I reckon. And
a couple for you to keep your eyes on as well, especially, Damon, your boy here.
Yeah, he's my boy, but I'm still questioning as whether or not I'm going to get him in. But you might want to consider him just based on his price. He is priced, this man, Jake Lloyd, he's priced at 162,600, averaging only 53. But listen to this, his break-even is negative 50.
Ooh.
He scored 15, not too good. 49, not too good, but then a 97 last week.
They really
smashed it out.
Yeah, they really rate him internally.
He only, this was against Brisbane, of course, but he had 29 disposals and 1 goal, and he's risen 38 grand so far. But consider he still is cheaper than Salem.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Salem.
There you go.
Well, again, the other thing to point out too is that Jake Lloyd is currently, and I have this on very good authority from a very strong source up there at the Swans, he's currently keeping Tom Mitchell out of the side.
Ooh, really?
There you go. So if you're having a look at that now, we know Tom Mitchell's a gun, but Jake Lloyd on form alone has been doing some very good things, so might be one to consider. There you
go. I was just about to mention there's only a question over his job security, but you've just bashed it out of the ballpark right there.
He's keeping him out of the side, and he'll play this week. And from what I've told, Tom Mitchell would not be back because the Swans in the NEAFL had the bye on the weekend. He's got no form to come into. Jake Lloyd will play again this week.
Who's feeding you this information? Is it Buddy?
Yeah.
Buddy's feeding it too.
I've got a guy, Matt Joyce, up in Sydney. He reckons he knows.
Oh, that's right, the red-headed guy, yeah. Yep.
Gary Rowan.
But I mean, there's another player as well.
There is another player, another youngster who made his debut on the weekend, or last weekend, just gone. Billy Hartung. He's priced at 117,300, and his debut score was 70. So that was pretty good, considering that he started with the sub vest as well. Came on for Mitchell. Because Mitchell, and I think now with Mitchell being out, there is more sort of reason to keep him in the Hawthorn side. He's going to get more of an opportunity.
The only issue with, I guess, with Billy Hartung training down to him this week, you've got to remember we've got Stratton yet to come back, Liam Shields has got to come back. Although we've had, obviously, Lake's gone out of the side, Shoenmakers is playing up forward at the moment.
And apparently Langford's coming back this week from his back complaint.
There could be a few issues there in terms of Billy Hartung's job security, but they really rate him as a really quick, hard-running player who, like Hill and Rioli, are quick and use the ball. He uses the ball extremely well.
Just on those guys that are coming back, though, they're still probably about 3-4 weeks away. So you've at least got that 3 or 4 weeks where he will be growing, 40, 50, 60 grand.
As long as you're happy for him to sit on your bench, it shouldn't be a problem. But keep that in mind, because there will be some people hoping to play him off that score.
Absolutely.
And another one as well, Blake Acres, picked 19 in last year's draft to the Saints. Really quality kid from Perth. His score of 59 on debut, and he's worth 127,000. He'll probably get some good game time, I'd say, there for the Saints.
Definitely.
And that leads us to the trade debate. So there's a couple of players that they've got injured or down on form. Let's start from the top. Matthew Jensch, or Jensch as some like to call him. He's priced at 422,800, and he did break his ribs on the weekend, which was unfortunate. So yeah, he did tweet as well, didn't he? He tweeted saying, "Trade me out." So that was nice of him.
Straight from the horse's mouth. Cheers, Matty. Appreciate that.
So at 422, he has gone up a fair bit in price. So he's giving you a bit of leeway there to perhaps trade up to a more higher premium there. One option, though, is Dane Rampe.
Love him.
Dane Rampe. He's come from nowhere. He's now priced at 452,700. He's averaging 81. I remember when this guy first came along, a lot of people had him on their bench in his first year.
Last year it was,
Last year, yes, it was indeed. And he's since risen from there and cemented his spot in the Swans' defence. He's a defender, isn't he?
He is. Alex Johnson's injury is keeping him in the side.
Yeah, so he's quite lucky there. And he's had scores of 105, 113, 88 and 115, and he's only in 1.3% of teams in the competition, so nice little point of difference right there.
He's also he averaged 16 disposals last year. He's up at 19 now. He's in the top 10 for rebound 50s, and he rates in the top, I think, 1 or 2% in the competition for disposal efficiency. Wow. It's pushing 80. So it's crazy good. It is really, really good. He's a really good option. But Luke McDonald, another one, started the sub on the weekend. $293, $900 he is, average of 63. He's got a break even of 96 because of that sub-affected score there. He's got the bye this week, the Kangas, but they do face Brisbane post-bye and then the Cats. So, he's lost $21,000, so he's starting to leak money. Therefore, he must go. Unless you're really in a position where you can't get rid of him. If you can, he's someone I'd recommend getting rid of. Someone to really honestly consider, and I mean really consider, is Harry Taylor from the Cats. Now, he's only $388,000. He's going to cost you less than $100,000 to upgrade to if you've got the coin in the bank. He's got an average of 75, a break even of 92, and although they do have the same bye this week, you can upgrade him next week. Therefore, Fremantle and North Melbourne to follow. He had 106 on the weekend. He had that horrid score a few weeks back of 36, which resulted in that high break even and that massive price drop. He's lost over $115,000. He is going to be one of the absolute steals in defence, considering his output is well over 100. He was over. It was an average of 100 scorer last year, so really strongly consider him. I have got him on my radar, and I think everyone else should too.
Yeah, definitely. Talking about steals in defence, because steal up forward as well coming up here. Jackson Merritt, he's not the steal.
No.
Definitely not the steal.
Not anymore.
Trade him out. He's sitting on 346 grand. He's lost around about 35 grand in the last fortnight. So again, just bleeding the cash. He's averaging 77, which has dropped dramatically as well. He's got a break even of 101, and you wouldn't bank on him getting that. Next three, Brisbane. He's got the bye, and then Sydney. If you've still got him in the team, he's definitely one to upgrade slightly for. It's an interesting one, Travis Cloak.
I like it.
Yeah. He's our man, isn't he?
He is.
It is sort of maybe a silly suggestion, slightly silly, but Cloak, he could be a hidden gem. because the Pies have the bye obviously this week. But then in the next, for the remainder of the season, they play 5 bottom 8 sides.
Wait for it.
In succession.
Give it to me.
And now that he's bottom out in price, you can get him for a bargain. He'll cost you under 20 grand to upgrade to.
Boom.
That's it.
And the clubs that he plays post-bye are, from memory, what have we got? There's Melbourne, there's the Bulldogs, there's St Kilda, there's West Coast, there's Adelaide. That's 5 bottom 8 sides. You can probably bank on him going a bit bananas there.
Yeah, just hope you can kick straight as well.
Yeah. Well, even then, he's a good option. But Tom Hickey's still someone that people have got floating on their benches.
Yeah, and he was one option for me potentially when I was trading up Mumford. So thank anything that I didn't get him. Tom Hickey is now priced at $376,800, and he's now been ruled out for the next few months at least with a foot injury.
Come on, say who you want to trade him to. Say it.
One option to trade him out to. He's been banking on this. He's been waiting for it this entire show.
5 or 6 weeks.
Yep. He goes by the name of Mark
Jamar. Mark Jamar.
Mark Jamar. He's priced at $420,700, and he's averaging 114 with a break-even of 21.
Around him.
So get around him. Now's the time to get around him.
Absolutely. Why not?
Honestly, he's doing well.
Yeah, he is. And
He's
it's
a
the first
superstar.
time in his career, I think, where he's playing uninjured, and he's found some form, thankfully, because he's been pushed out of the side in the past, and Spencer, of all players, has stepped up and taken his place.
I'm just going to throw something out there anyway. I think with Mark Jamar, the reason he's doing so well is because Melbourne have got a midfield that are actually getting their hands on the ball. Remember, ruckmen get those extra points if the ball goes directly to their teammates. So when you're looking at guys like Bernie Vince and Daniel Cross coming into the side, we've also got, obviously, Jones is playing out of his skin. Viney's better for a second year in the system. He's doing great. He really is. And what is it, 700 people own him or something?
Yeah, he's only
one of them.
Yeah, he's one of them now.
I can't believe you're actually one of them.
He's only owned by 0.3% of the competition, which means only 725 now out of 200,000 coaches own him.
That's great.
And he's scored 93 and 135.
Had we said this 4 weeks ago when I said to, we would look like geniuses right now.
We would, you're right.
Yeah.
But you know what? We'll see how it ends up at the end of the year. You'll either look like a king or an absolute goose.
Yeah, probably the goose.
Moving on to tweet of the week, and I think Brett had a question for you.
For me?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, wow. All right. What are the defender rookie downgrade options this week? Brett says. Brett Forecast 1. Thanks for that. Defender rookie downgrade options. The only real ones we can sort of think of.
There's Gardiner from Brisbane.
Brizzy.
There's, obviously Joel Tippett, but he will probably start in the sub-vest, if that.
Yeah. You'd be kicking yourself because Ben Lennon's been averaging 80 in the VFL playing a defence, but he can only be picked as a forward. Yeah. That's pretty unfortunate.
Well, the unfortunate reality, there's not a lot coming into the bye rounds. Your best bet is to obviously downgrade Mitchell just for another premium, and probably, like as we spoke about before, just another Hawthorn premium. If you're
downgrading to Burgoyne, which I've done, you'll net $9,000. So there you go, actually make a bit of a profit from it. So,
and Serge Singh had one for you, Damo.
Yes, he did. He asked, he has both Mitchell and Jensch in my back line, 550k at the bank. What do I do? Well, I think we just spoke about Mitchell there. I'd probably downgrade him to a Burgoyne, or even upgrade him if you have the spare cash to a Hibberd, who is quite consistent. And with Jensch, I don't know. It's either way. I mean, if you have the money, upgrade him, and then it'll pretty much set your back line. I think Jensch should probably be your third, fourth defender, depending on how many premiums you got in your side. So I'd look to definitely upgrade him. There's no use downgrading because that spot, I think, needs to be filled by a premium defender. So you
could probably even sit tight this week because
Adelaide's
he's copped the bye anyway. But even then, my money would be on Hibberd. I've already got not Malcheski. I've already got McVeigh. So my money would be on Hibberd personally. But I had one from a friend of the SCP show anyway. Sean Curnow of at St Kilda Thunder actually asked this before using the SCP hashtag. Should I delete my team and start again? This is some comic Sean gold here. Come on, Sean, your team can't be that bad, mate. We're looking after you here. So
the question is, does he still have Dale Thomas?
he should just get off the EPL fantasy football and spend a bit more time on SuperCoach and have a few more beers with me at our local. Yeah. That's not fair.
That sounds good for everyone. Right.
Down here at Bar 94. Get down and we'll have a beer and we'll help your team. And Kerry will look after you.
Very nice.
But on that anyway, it's that's all we've got time for on this week's show. We hope that you can navigate your way through the buys pretty well. Hopefully there's not too much carnage. But as we said, back in your team, don't trade out of trouble, and we'll see you next week, and hopefully we'll have a few more good things for you to see.
And just quickly before we go out, how many players have you got playing this week in your side?
About 16.
13.
13? Ooh, 13!
20.
I've got 18 if Langford and Sue
don't brag. Get out of here.
All right.
That's it. Cut this. We're going. See you guys. Have a good one.